Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Media Day for most of the league. Today is Media Day around the league. We've got a number of stories that we're going to get into. Make sure you do subscribe to the Front Office Show on YouTube, as well as follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Trevor Lay, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, we're here. It's finally time. The NBA. I think this is John Wick. I'm thinking I'm back. The NBA is saying that right now, today. Let's go.
Yeah, this is like the unofficial start of the whole deal. By the end of today, everybody will have media day. Tomorrow, everyone will have had their first training camp practices. So like we're here now. We're ready to go. And man, I'm fired up. We got, a little bit of news coming out of media day, a couple injury updates and the like that we'll get to. Teams have also, I think, started over the last few years. They tend to release some of the injury updates in the days ahead of media day rather than like, oh, hey, by the way, this guy's not going to be ready to start the year. And we're like, wait, what? Just so I think it's like, okay, you've got the info now, ask your questions and we go. But yeah, and then we got some roster moves still happening and a lot of stuff. Man, maybe the Warriors will have enough guys to do a practice tomorrow. We'll see.
Well, let's get into that. The Warriors, who infamously had 9 players on their roster, although technically, Keith, they still do. They've come to terms with Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, Gary Payton II. These guys all committing, but they have not actually put pen to paper yet. Unless I missed something in the early hours this morning, they've committed, but they can't actually practice until they sign the deal. Correct?
Yeah, correct. They won't be at media day today. They won't be at practice tomorrow. They will not sign Al Horford, Gary Payton II, DeAnthony Melton. They also Will Richard, who is a second-round pick. They're signing via the second-round pick exception. We'll get into why they're doing that in a moment. And then Alex Tui, who's signing a two-way. He may sign because that's not going to impact anything. But this has to wait until they have resolution on Jonathan Kuminga. Right. And that's why most people know when the report comes out from a reporter, in this case it was Shams, and says, DeAnthony Melton and Gary Payton have agreed to deals with the Warriors, that generally means it's going to be a minimum deal. In this case, when they don't
list the dollar amount.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
That's probably what it is with Melton and Payton. But in Al Horford's case, my guess is we know what we're going to do if Kuminga is back, if Kuminga is back on the qualifying offer, or if Kuminga is gone. They probably have that all laid out. Those have all been agreed to. It's just can't do any of those until they know exactly where they are. And they're also not going to put any kind of money on the books that would impact anything towards if the team wanted to get really kind of crazy out there. Brooklyn Nets would really be the only one. But if they wanted to get crazy and dump a bunch of salary and go do a Kuminga offer sheet, the Warriors do not want to be caught in a place where they can't match that. So they're still going to have resolution on that. We're going to get into that a little bit more. But Horford, Melton, Payton, I think all good. Well, Payton's not a pickup. Melton's only kind of a pickup too. But Melton was playing well for them a year ago before he got injured. Payton, we know what he is, and I think Al Horford's kind of a perfect fit with this Warriors group.
And are you concerned about the age of the Warriors? Now, I mean, 39-year-old Al Horford joining 37-year-old Steph Curry, joining 36-year-old Jimmy Butler, joining 35-year-old Draymond Green. I mean, hell, even Buddy Hield is going into his age 33 season. It's the Warriors and the Clippers. Exactly, they should be investing in Icy Hot right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Melton and Payton aren't exactly, spring chickens either. Yeah. So, yeah, we're in a spot where the Warriors, what's really interesting is I think they're going to be, remember the Spurs, and I guess Steve Kerr's done this too, but the Spurs towards the end of the Duncan Parker Ginobili run, like, I don't think they'll list guys out as DNP old, like the Spurs did. Right. But remember, they would completely we're not playing any of the vets and just throw a game away entirely. And Steve Kerr's done that on occasion, like at the end of road trips. I think you're going to see some of that this year, and that'll probably come with a fine or two for them, but they'll just kind of eat it. Or you might see all right, well, tonight Curry and Green are going to play, and Butler and Horford are going to get the night off. And then tomorrow we'll flip it. They're going to actively have to manage these guys. Horford hasn't played back-to-backs in the last few years for the Celtics. This is not a young team. There's all those guys have semi injury histories too, even Curry now. So you got to watch that a little bit. But I think, Horford's a good pickup. It's, we'll see how they fill out the last spot or so on the roster, and we'll see what happens with Kuminga. Maybe there still is a chance he gets traded, and that brings back even more help or something. Can I talk about Will Richard real quick?
Of course.
This one. So Will Richard, this is why he was drafted. He was drafted because he's willing to take second round pick exception from the Warriors. So they pick him up. He gets second round pick exception. Why this is important is he'll go on the books at his actual salary number of 1.2 million or so. And that why that's important is that number, because he was a Warriors draft pick, will also be his number towards the tax and the aprons, which is a concern for Golden State. More the aprons than the tax. They're going to be in the tax. But that's really important because they have to kind of manage through that. If they just signed, let's say, Seth Curry or gone with any other veteran, and they may still do that because they have one other spot open. But if they had signed two more vet minimum guys, those guys go on the books at 2.3 million, or any undrafted rookie or a player with 1 year of service goes on the books at 2.3 million towards the tax and aprons. So that's why Richard is there. It's not that he's a bad player either, but he is more on the books because this is how we can fill a roster spot with somebody we like and keep the cost down and keep our apron and tax stuff under control.
Yeah. Okay. So the Warriors doing what they can here to fill out this roster. You mentioned Kuminga. Could you still see a world where he gets signed and traded? I mean, the clock is ticking here. October 1st is the deadline to pick up that qualifying offer.
That
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Wednesday, the 1st. That is the deadline for restricted free agents to sign the qualifying offer.
Is there a time on? Is there like a final countdown?
There is a time. So the NBA very annoyingly does things at 5 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern, or 11:59 p.m. Eastern. I don't know which one this falls into. I'll try to find that out before Wednesday if we can. But it is Wednesday. We'll know by at the very least at the end of the day, Wednesday on the East Coast, we'll know what's going on with Kuminga and Grimes as far as are they signing the qualifying offer for both players. How it works is if they don't sign it, they remain restricted free agents. But the power then kind of shifts to the team versus the player. Because right now they have the leverage of, hey, I don't like the offers you're giving me. I'll just sign the qualifying offer. I'll get the 1 year no trade clause, and I'll be a restricted free agent next summer. And you're going to have me on a contract for both guys. It's like $8 million. So we'll just round it to that. That's not a super tradable number. Like, it's very tradable, but you're not getting a lot.
It's not. It's too small of a contract.
Too small. Exactly. So once we get past Wednesday, now the team can say, hey, sign the offer we're giving you, or stay a free agent, or go play overseas somewhere or whatever. Yeah. And they can't just sign that contract. So that's why Wednesday is the big day for both players. With Kuminga, we know, we discussed it last week. His agent has been very transparent of, hey, we don't like the offers that are being offered. You want them to give up the no trade clause short term, give us more money. You want them long term, give us long-term security that it's going to be there with a player option, so we have some level of control. With Grimes, I don't know if you saw over the weekend, it fully came out. 4 years, $39 million is reportedly what they offered him.
That's basically the qualifying offer. They
that's
stretch out for 4 years. Like, that was insane.
Yeah, he was never ever going to sign that. So that's problem number one. And they are just barely below the tax. They're willing to go into the tax, but I don't think the Sixers want to be in a spot where it is now we're really way into the aprons and everything else. So they're interesting. Also, Jared McCain got hurt.
Jared McCain's injured. They need Grimes list more now.
Yeah. So now you kind of, exactly. Now you're kind of Maxey, Edgecombe, Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, Paul George, when ready to go, he's kind of still iffy on when he'll be fully ready. Kelly Oubre Jr., Justin Edwards, these are a bunch of options, but none of them Maxey and Edgecombe, but none of them as good as Quentin Grimes. So we're in a weird spot. I think this ends with both players signing the qualifying offer. That's where I think we're headed with this. Grimes with Philly, Kuminga with the Warriors, and that's where we move forward.
I think it would be worse. It's a negative situation for the Warriors. It's not all negative. There are positives in terms of their flexibility this season and things of that nature under the cap. But I think it is a negative if Kuminga signs the qualifying offer for the Warriors. I don't know about the 76ers, if it's still that big of it. And because it sounds like they're so far off. And frankly, like you said, I thought that was kind of a disrespectful offer. Yeah. And I think they kind of knew that it was going to be. That's part of why that was their first official, like, real offer to Grimes all summer. It just happened. That to me is mind blowing. But it seems like with the Grimes situation, we are heading towards he either picks up the qualifying offer or effectively the 76ers are going to buy him out of his no trade. And by that, they would just give him a one. Doesn't sound like they're doing a multi-year deal unless something drastic changes here. It's either going to be the 1 year qualifying offer or it'll be a 1 year deal where essentially they give him more. Let's say they give him 14 million instead of the whatever 8 million ish that he can get on the qualifying offer. Essentially, they'll be paying him that extra money to get him to waive the no trade that would come with that 1 year deal.
Exactly.
So it seems like one way or another, Grimes is going to wind up with the Sixers, but on just a 1 year deal, unless some team swoops in with a sign and trade at the last minute.
Sure.
Whereas Kuminga, if he winds up taking the qualifying offer, I think the Warriors do want him on a multi. It's not like the Sixers, where it's like, we're going to lowball you so much that we're going to make it clear we don't want you on a multi-year deal. I think the Warriors do want Jonathan Kuminga on a multi-year deal. They just want it to be a very team-friendly multi-year deal, and they believe he's going to blink. If he does not blink, I think there will be a lot of fingers pointed saying the Warriors misplayed their hand here.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be people who point out, look at how much money he left on the table on the Kuminga side too. But I think we're really in a spot with both of these guys. It's tough. One other piece with Grimes, reportedly, they asked the Sixers, hey, you're open to extending the qualifying offer deadline. And that can happen if the team chooses to do so. That's the only way the deadline can be extended. And
we want to push it back a week.
No. They said, nope, we're there. And last thing for both these guys, there's been a lot of reporting around because the Sixers are already going and they're now off. I think they've already landed in overseas. I think they're in Abu Dhabi.
They're in Abu Dhabi, yeah.
Grimes isn't with the team. He wasn't at media day. There's been reporting Kuminga won't be at media day. He's not going to be at the start of practice. Again, these guys are free agents. Like, they are not qualifying offer is an offer. There seems a lot of confusion from fans. So hopefully this will help clear it up. It is a contract offer. It is not a signed contract. They are free agents. They're not part of the team. They're not signed to anything. They can't practice until they are signed. So that is the tricky part with both guys.
People portraying it as though whatever player is like holding out or they're supposed to be at this team event and they are not, and they're no showing. That's simply incorrect because they're not on the team. They're not on the team. Exactly. So you can't be expected to be at media day when you are not on the team.
Yeah. It's I used to highly encourage people all the time. Like, hey, don't do work for your company off the clock. Like, they should be paying you for that. I mean, if it's your own company, that's your own deal. But if you're working for a big company, which NBA teams are big, very rich companies, don't work for free. Like, get paid. And I'm not going all Shaq. I'm going to rehab on company time. It's right. Don't give it away.
All right, let's go here. Kevin Durant likely to extend with the Houston Rockets. Now, there have been some rumblings over the course of the summer. We've talked about this, that it may not be at that max number that Kevin Durant would extend for. And that could be very helpful for the Houston Rockets. But Tari Eason, less certain. Let's start there. What number would you expect Kevin Durant to extend for? And then how does the over 38 rule come into play here with a Kevin Durant in his age 37 season?
Yeah, so the over 38 rule only comes into play on deals that are longer than 3 years. Important to remember, that includes the current year. So really, you're looking at a 2-year extension, max of, let's call it a little over 120 million, because we don't exactly know where the cap will settle yet for next season. So 120 million for KD, roughly 60 million a year. There's been a lot of talks that he's like, hey, maybe we do 100 million, and he knocks 10-ish million off each season, and that would be huge for the Rockets. That would be big, because this is the team you see. You have the salary sheets laid out. Şengün, Van Vliet, Jabari Smith Jr.'s extension kicks in, and Tari Eason, even if he's less certain to extend, they do want to keep him, and that's going to be something in the range of, let's say, somewhere between 16 and 20 million would be my guess for Tari Eason, probably slightly less than Jabari Smith Jr. So that means you got to kind of get that. You got to have room in your books if you want to be able to do other stuff. Fred VanVleet probably far more likely now to opt in to that player option, unless there's like a wink deal of, hey, opt out and we'll do 25 million, but over 2 seasons. And that's how they knock. I mean, they already did that once, right? They knocked his number down. So maybe that's where that goes, but we'll see. But yeah, anything they could get Kevin Durant to kind of give up will go. This came from Jake Fisher over the weekend. And he also reported, while we're on the Rockets, there's no movement coming with anything to fill in for Fred VanVleet.
Right.
We talked about why it's very hard. They're right up against the first apron hard cap, so they can't really do a whole lot. Half the roster can't be traded anyway, so they're probably in a spot where it's going to be, hey, we're just rolling forward with Thompson and Shepard and Holiday and Koji, and we'll figure it out at the guard spot.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about Tari Eason, who is going to be or is extension eligible, but you can see right here on the screen, if you're watching over on YouTube, he's also has restricted free agency coming. And this is part of what, when we talk about, well, the Jazz didn't come to terms on a new deal with or an extension with Walker Kessler. Part of that is they have the protection of restricted free agency coming up next summer. So even if an extension is not reached with Tari Eason, it could be that he feels like his value to the team is going to increase after the season. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative reflection on the team. It could be the player as well says, you know what, I think I'm going to be worth more next summer. The team says, okay, cool. Well, let's prove that this season, and then we can pay you more next summer. Then let's go from there. But they do have the protection of restricted free agency. I would have to imagine if he was just an unrestricted free agent, this dynamic changes significantly because Houston really likes Tari Eason. I don't look at this as a sign that they're looking to move on from him. Now, if they are far apart in those discussions, let's say Tari Eason says, I'm $100 million player, and the Rockets say, no, we want to give you 50, and there's a huge gap between what they're willing to pay, then you get to a point where, okay, do we move him rather than be the team to pay him? And you get into that whole conversation. But we're not at that point. Everything we've heard sounds like the Rockets very much like Tari Eason and want to keep him long-term.
Yeah, and we've got about 3-ish weeks to go for these guys. It's the day before the season, so October 20th is the deadline for players to sign these rookie scale extensions, which is what Eason is there. And I think the negotiations over these next few weeks will really give us a sense of how close is that. And to your point, if we're miles apart, then that could be, well, maybe Tari Eason does get moved, and that's how we help fill in our point guard spot and fill out our rotation. But the Rockets do really like him. One thing that to be careful of is a lot more teams with cap space. He's only 24. Tari Eason's the kind of guy, as long as you don't get crazy and like start approaching a max contract, you can keep it in the 20 million-ish range, maybe even a little higher given restricted free agency would be there. Maybe you got to make the Rockets blink. That's the kind of guy you can throw in your rotation, and he's going to be helpful on a young team that's up and coming, on a good established team. Just the way he plays with so much energy and defense, he's a really helpful player.
Right. Yeah, he absolutely is. Absolutely is. So that'll be a situation to keep an eye on there in Houston as we do get into October. Man, I can't believe it. I don't know. It feels like the Green Day song "Wake Me Up When September Ends." It felt like just a quick nap. Like to me, September, despite like being so excited for the NBA season to come, maybe it's because I had a vacation in the middle, but it felt like September flew by, and I am so happy that it did.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if people can see. I think the sun has moved on, but there was a little spider shadow on the wall behind me when we started the show. So
Okay.
we put up all the Halloween decorations this weekend. So yeah, we're October ready here.
Does your wife already have her pumpkin carvings planned?
Working on it. Yeah,
Has she
they're
selected them?
sorting through them.
For
Yeah,
anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, they are absolutely epic. And Keith, you share them on social media
yeah,
every year. It's one of those like landmark days in the year. It's like, oh yeah, I need to see what she came up with this year, because it is
yeah.
some absolutely incredible stuff.
Yeah, she's got a few different ideas. She hasn't locked into one just yet.
All right, let's go here. Let's head over to Memphis. Keith, it was 2 seasons ago when the Grizzlies were essentially deleted by injuries. It was the longest physical injury report I had ever seen that went on to
Yeah.
multiple pages. That was a couple seasons ago. Now we're already off to a bad start. You've got Zach Edey missing the start of the season after his ankle procedure of the summer. Jaren Jackson Jr. Had that turf toe situation. Now we've got Brandon Clark as well, dealing with a knee issue. The Grizzlies front court may be out, is looking likely to be out to start the season. This is not the way you want to get things rolling in the Western Conference. Has to be concerned there in Memphis now.
Yeah, and important to remember Jay Huff, they traded him to the Pacers. So they are down to healthy bigs, and I put that in quotations for anybody only listening. Santi Aldama is there, center, forward, more forward than center, but can cover. Then you got Jock Landale, and then everybody else is kind of masquerading as a player that can play up a little bit for them. PJ Hall, who's on a two-way contract. It's pretty rough. And yeah, they confirmed just over the weekend that Brandon Clark's going to miss the start of the year, like you said. Zach Edey still got a ways to go, and Jaren Jackson Jr. probably not going to be ready till we're at least a little into the season. Now that one, it might only be a week or two. And for the Grizzlies' sake, I hope. You referenced it 2 years ago. Do you remember how many guys played in a game for them?
It was like 33 or something.
Yep, spot on. 33,
was it 33
players. Yeah,
Man.
Which is absurd.
Yeah.
Let's just, in case anybody's new to this or doesn't know the numbers, you can only roster 15 players per game active at the most, and you can only roster 18 players at a time unless you have injury exceptions, which the Grizzlies had plenty. So 33 players, basically double what you can have on a roster, appeared in games for the Grizzlies that season. And that was not just strictly, hey, let's cycle through a 900 10-day deals at the end of the year. It was like, nope, I think they were up to 4 or 5 extra roster spots at times. It was, madness. So let's get over this stuff. Let's get back, because this is the big thing. And you're going to hear us say this a lot over the next month leading into the regular season. You cannot lose ground in the Western Conference early. You'll bury yourself. It'll be too hard to make it up. And even if you can't make it up, you won't have anything left by the time you get to the playoffs. You know that quite well.
Yep.
From the Lakers a couple years ago. Just didn't have anything really left in the tank. And you got to be in a spot where you're competitive right out of the gate. This is a chance for Tomas Isolo get a little funky, right? Play super fast, right? Like that's what your personnel probably gives you, and you'll play a lot of guards, a lot of shooters out there at once. Morant and Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. and just spread teams out and try to attack that way. But yeah, it's going to be tough for them up front.
Yeah, it absolutely is. In the Western Conference, you have to stack wins whenever you can. You can't count on anyone around you losing, because if you do, teams will lose games. But if you're looking at it going, oh, well, we need Team X to go 7-3 during this stretch in the West, there's a chance that team goes 9-1, right? I mean, these teams are all so good. So it's going to be, it's always a challenge. You have to stack up wins when you can, and it can be any little losing streak, any little hiccup could be the difference between being in the playoffs, being in the play-in, being on the outside looking in the West. You just never know. All right, let's jump over to one of the teams that I think is one of my dark horse teams in the Eastern Conference this year. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Sleeper. I threw together a few quick picks here. Bo Nix, I feel pretty comfortable. 0.5 passing yards. We'll get more than that. J.K. Dobbins, I say he is going to find his way into the end zone. And then Garrett Wilson, I think he is going to get hyper targeted. Welcome back, Justin Fields. So 65.5 yards. I'll be optimistic that he gets more than that. If you guys want to check out Sleeper, pretty impressive stuff that they've got over there on the Sleeper app. You can use the link in the description down below. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. They have live stats, real-time updates, a news feed with lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So download the #1 sports app and experience it for yourself. Use promo code CAPSPACE and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Woo, Keith, I was losing my voice.
Yeah, you were losing it right at the end there as the truck's going through the change.
I can't do that. It's media day. I need to be able to talk today.
Yeah, you got hours to go, miles to go.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
Hey, I knew all three of those guys.
You knew all three. You know
I know who the
Dobbins
quarterbacks
and
are. I know who the guys in the AFC East are because they play the Patriots. J.K. Dobbins, did he used to play for the Ravens? Do I have that right?
He did for a little bit, I believe.
I did know who all three of them were.
Yeah. Dobbins was with them, and then he was with Denver. I think he spent some time with the Chargers last year.
Yeah. See? Look at that. All right. Back to basketball. Jalen
Suggs targeting an opening night return. Is that worrisome that he's targeting an opening night return? Was the hope that he would be fully back by now for the Orlando Magic? Again, one of my teams that I think will be, maybe people are sleeping on a little bit in the East.
Yeah, you get with this time of year when a guy had a surgery at the end of last year, your hope is always that like you're just going to get either no news and they're just back, or you get news like they're fully cleared and they're ready to go for the start of the year. And Jeff Weltman, Magic president of basketball operations, speaking at Media Day, said, "Hey, we're targeting the opening night for Jalen Suggs," and that's clearly, if he's not quite ready, they're not going to rush him. He's way too important. They've got depth in the backcourt now with Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones and Anthony Black and guys that they are bringing back. So they're okay to get by for a little bit. And Jalen Suggs is so important to this team. But yeah, it's a little, I don't want to say worrisome. It's just a little like, man, that stinks. I was hoping he was going to be ready to go. They did say they're hopeful maybe they can get him into a late preseason game. So that's a little bit more encouraging. Yeah. Like, okay, if he's that close, then that's good. That's not we're targeting opening night, but it might be the first week in November versus that's closer to, well, maybe we'll get him in a preseason game. We're pretty close to opening night. So that part's encouraging.
Right. And they certainly need him. They made their big addition, getting Des Bane. It feels like that was a lifetime ago because that was such an early offseason move. But they added Desmond Bane to this team. Jalen Suggs, Des Bane in a backcourt together should be very, very good. So I'm excited to see that. But they need Jalen Suggs back in an action part. What really separates Orlando, why I'm optimistic about them, is they are an elite defense. If they can even just get to a moderate level of being able to hit a three-pointer, which they were not able to last season. I know that's historically been one of the problems there in Disney World, but they do need to continue to lean upon that defense, and Jalen Suggs is a big part of that. That will be their identity. It's just, can you bump yourself up in some of the other areas? And that is a big part of bringing in Des Bane as well. So I'm optimistic about this Magic side this year, but you've got to have Jalen Suggs back, just being an absolute terror on the perimeter. And Keith, he is, despite the fact that he's not always the most efficient offensive player, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Just, he is an absolute terror out there on the court, flying all over the place. He's a lot of fun. So stay healthy, Jalen Suggs. Come on, stay healthy.
Yeah, 100%. And so I know you very clearly remember the first time the Lakers acquired Dwight Howard from the Magic in a trade. The season before that, last time Orlando had a top 20 offense. Top 20, like they have been a bottom 10 offense for well over a decade now. Like, anybody watching this, think about how long ago it was that the Lakers got Dwight Howard the first time. That's how long the Magic have been a bad offensive team.
Oof.
Like, it's almost like how did you not 1 year just be 19th?
Like accidentally.
Yeah,
right.
just but yeah, that's how long it's been for them being a really rough offensive team. So yeah, I don't want to put it all on Desmond Bain, but if Desmond Bain all of a sudden can't shoot anymore, I don't know what you do now. I just at that point you I don't know, lower the rims or make the basket wider, like just cheat. They're like the opposite, like they do at a fair or a carnival, like they make the rim bigger,
Soften the rims.
yeah, something. So,
but
all right,
all right, let's go here.
let's do good injury updates.
Let's do good news here. Victor Wembanyama fully cleared to start the season. That's great news, of course, for the San Antonio Spurs as well as the NBA in general. He is a phenomenal player. I mean, if he stays healthy, he's probably the defensive player of the year. I think he would have been last year, but he did not stay healthy. So come on, Wemby, let's stay healthy. If Wemby plays, let's be optimistic. Let's say he plays 75 games. Are the Spurs a playoff team?
Yeah, probably. Or really close. Like it's again, West is difficult. But yeah, probably pretty close. And he's probably all NBA and maybe in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, very well could be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of people who were like, "Are we going too far with this?" And I was watching some stuff prepping for the season when he played last year, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going too far.
No, he's that good.
No player in the league. I said this to someone the other day. There's no player in the league since he's been in the league who has made me stop and then like rewind when I'm watching and be like, what just happened?
Right.
Like I don't even understand. Like he's a brain-breaking player. He's just unbelievable.
Speaking of positive news, so Jason Tatum posting a workout video actually on the basketball court. Now that's got people buzzing that he could indeed return this season. But as we talked about the other day, Keith, they're not going to rush anything. Yeah. They're not going to push it. If he's ready, he's ready. If he's not ready, he's not ready. This isn't the kind of thing where, they're in the midst of the playoff race in March. Quick, get him back out on the court. No, it's not going to matter. It's if he's ready. He's ready to go, but that's certainly a good sign that he's out there at least getting in some work. It's not like he's out there 360 dunking or anything, but still, just him being on the floor is great to see. Yeah,
and we're not seeing him just do like weight room work or running on the treadmill or any of that. Like he was actually on the court, like running and doing. He had a step back jumper at one point in there, and like he jumped, like he left the floor and in that. So these are just the snippets of how they cut it to show us. I don't think, some Celtics fans went a little crazy. Like, could he be back by Christmas? Like, could this be, they're not going to rush him back. And no better authorities on that than Jason Tatum himself said he will not return until he's 100% ready. And he feels no pressure from the team to return until he's 100% ready. And then Brad Stevens, speaking at Media Day, said the determiners of when Jason Tatum comes back will be Jason Tatum and the medical staff. It won't be determined by where the team is at, how the team is playing. If the team wants him to play, it'll be none of that. The one thing Tatum did say, he's targeting returning for a Celtics home game. And he was specifically asked, do you have an idea of which one? And he was like, nope, I'm just going to, first time I play again, it's going to be in front of the home fans, which is, I think he wants to get that pop and get everybody going there. So, but this is all encouraging. And this is the doctors from the moment said it's come out now. He had his surgery within 12 hours of the tear. And they did this thing called a speed bridge repair. I know people are like, oh, speed, does that mean it's, that's just what it's called. And like this stuff, they're basically saying Achilles tears are not what they used to be. Like now it's important let's be fair to Damian Lillard and Tyrese Halliburton and the other guys who are coming back too, because not every injury is the same. Not every player heals the same. Not all of them were able to even have the same type of repair done. But for Tatum's case, this seems like it's all pretty good news. And then, we'll continue, I imagine, to get updates as we go forward from him and the team. And, it'll be one of those. I lived through this for a year with Gordon Hayward, where it's like, hey, it looks like he's running okay. Do you think we can see him soon? Like, we're going to have a lot of that going on with Tatum.
Yeah, there's a big difference between, jogging okay in a workout session and actually being in an NBA game. But again, nonetheless, good news there so far for Tatum. Kobe White reportedly won't sign an extension with the Chicago Bulls. Should the Bulls be extending him? Where are you at on Kobe White?
The Bulls should try. Kobe White's not going to extend because, as you can see, he is the 6th highest paid Chicago Bull this year. This is a great example of team-friendly contracts are awesome for the team right up until you can't extend the guy.
Yep.
And that's the problem. Kobe White himself said if he's meant to stay with the Bulls, he's happy to be a Bull. And then talked about he loves the city, he loves his teammates, he loves playing for Billy Donovan. This is just a matter of the most the Bulls can give him is 140% of that. So that brings him up to $19-ish million, because there's also another caveat where if you make less than the average salary, you can extend off of that. That's what really applies to Kobe White. But it's like 4 years, $86 million with a starting salary of $19 million in year one. Kobe White's going to make somewhere between 25 and 30 million as a free agent, whether it's in his next deal from the Bulls or from another team. So it's just financially, he's going to double or maybe even triple his money. There's no reason to extend off of that. This, again, doesn't mean he's leaving the Bulls. Doesn't mean the Bulls should be like, trade him. Now, if we get into January and it's like, I'm not coming back, I'm going somewhere else, yeah, then everything changes. Then you need to start trading him so you don't watch him walk away for nothing. Because he, unlike other guys we talked about, no restricted free agency here. He's already done that. So we're in a spot with Kobe White where it's, new deal or with the Bulls or nothing, but it won't be an extension.
Yeah. So we'll see ultimately what the long-term future is of Kobe White there with the Bulls. But as you said, an extension, we are seeing a lot more extensions than we used to in the NBA, to the point where, I forget who said it. It was in an article I was reading, but it was characterized as getting to free agency isn't the status symbol that it once was in the NBA. Now it's about, do teams give you that extension that you want, and then players will figure out their destination after that if they want to be traded or whatever. It's part of the reason why we're seeing free agency not become as much of a factor. But while extensions have become much more common, there are situations like this where, which again used to be the norm, where you look at it and you just say financially an extension doesn't make sense for the player. And that used to be, again, what was that? The last CBA, maybe even the CBA before, there were a lot of situations where we just went, oh, well, it doesn't make sense for the player to actually sign an extension. They're better off hitting free agency. They can make more money that way. And that was when you had more big time players hitting free agency consistently. And obviously that's not the case these days as extensions are more common. But as with the case of Kobe White, we still do wind up with these situations where it just doesn't make sense to do an extension from the player's perspective.
Yeah. And I know we get a lot of Lakers fans watching the show because of the crossover with you and Lakers Nation. This is the same situation for Austin Reeves. It's the same boat. It's not enough money to be worth extending versus what you can get as a free agent. So that's why, again, doesn't mean they're leaving. One last thing in the Bulls. This is where I am with me. I buy into the media day, like we're all 0-0. We're all like everybody's fired up and excited. I was doing some Bulls work over the weekend, and I was like, all right, I kind of maybe see it. And I mentioned it, and one of my Bulls fans buddy was like, you're an idiot. Like this team is like 500-ish at best, and somewhere between 7th and 10th and maybe 11th in the East. He's like, I would love it if it was 11th and they weren't in the play-in tournament, but he's like, there's no way they're not in the play-in tournament. I was like, all right, well, I guess that optimism is maybe unfounded, but I like some of the Bulls players.
They're starting the season aiming for the play-in tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Has been since it existed.
Yep. The Suns managing Mark Williams. They want to keep him healthy, as much as they obviously could, and they kind of have the roster to do it. They've got 4 centers on this team. So I don't know if it will continue to be that way throughout the season. Maybe they find a trade or something like that. But you've got Nick Richards, you've got Kaman Malyawatch, and who's the other guy, Keith? Isn't there?
Let's go.
Player.
This one was interesting because this is a good example of they've already had some practices because they were one of the 5 teams that started early because they're headed to Australia, where I think Australia is the one, right, where they love soccer and it's always gloomy and gray, because England's the one where they have the crocodiles. Okay, that's what I think.
Yeah.
We had someone comment when we were talking about England on our last show, and they're like, why does everybody think people from England are Australian? So we're just having a little bit of fun. with y'all. But good reporting out of training camp. Dwayne Rankin was the one who I saw had this report where covers the Suns for the Arizona Republic that they did some scrimmaging and Mark Williams wasn't out there. And they're like, is he already hurt? And they're like, he's fine. We just wanted to get a look at Malwatch. We wanted to get a look at Oso. We've got Nick Richards where we're going to manage through this. And then Jordan Ott, the Suns' new head coach, spoke about like, it's a long season and we know he's been through a lot. We want to get him to the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. Do you buy the whole Matt Ishbia refrain that, well, a lot of the experts picked us to be really good the last few years. So since now they're picking us to be really bad, that must mean we're actually going to be really good. How do you see the Suns?
Yeah, their roster is just too imbalanced. They have a bunch of centers. They have no real point guards. They're gonna force fit Devin Booker back in a point guard alongside Jalen Green. I'm sure the Suns are going to be fun to watch and kind of intriguing, but I don't see how this team is going to be very good this year. I struggle to see it. I think they're in that group with like Portland and San Antonio and New Orleans where they're going to be trying to start the season to be a good team, but I think it's just going to get away from them fairly quickly.
All right. And then we've got reportedly no buyout coming for Kevin. Is that period? No buyouts coming for him at all?
So the way this was termed, Mark Stein and Jake Fisher had reporting on this. Sounds like until he can find a contender to catch on with. Important to note, Kevin Love, new buyout rules, just a refresher for everybody. If you made more than the non-taxpayer MLE, once we get in season, so this is like once the season starts, so on the 21st, if you make more than the non-taxpayer MLE, which is like 14 million, you can't sign with any team that's over the apron. So Kevin Love is well below that, so there would be no restrictions. So if the Lakers are like, hey, come up and link up with LeBron for the last couple months of the season, that would go. My guess is we'll probably see this one go to around the trade deadline, or if the Jazz really need a roster spot, that's when it'll happen. The Jazz did release KJ Martin over the course of the weekend. That one, some people are like, why'd they waive KJ Martin? He had a non-guaranteed contract, and I think the idea was let's waive him and if he could go catch on somewhere else, let him go because we're not going to keep him. With Love, it's a little bit different because you'd be eating that money. So unless he's willing to say, hey, take it all back and I'll go, which there's no reason for him to do that or no reason for the Jazz to eat the money right now. This one will drag out a little bit longer. Nick Smith Jr., I can't remember if we talked this or not, also got waived by the Hornets. I know I mentioned it on the show.
We did.
Probably weeks ago, just about how I thought he was in danger of losing his spot, and he did ultimately lose his roster spot. He did clear waivers, so he, again, much like KJ Martin, eligible to sign with anybody now, so we'll see. But Kevin Love going to be on the Jazz roster for at least a little bit. With him and Kyle Anderson, I guess, will become good buddies at the end of the Jazz bench.
Speaking of the Jazz, coming out of Jazz Media Day, Walker Kessler says, I'm definitely a little frustrated, talking about not getting an extension. He said, as long as I have a Jazz jersey on, I will play winning basketball. It says, I definitely am a little frustrated.
No, I don't blame him. Yeah. Walker Kessler has played well enough that he should be getting an extension. This is more of I think the Jazz are just still trying to figure out where they are and what they want to do. So that's going to be a little odd. We'll see. Where that one all goes with that. A couple other just quick media. We're not going to stay here all day, and you got to get covering the Lakers media day coming up here pretty soon. But Jason Kidd says Kyrie Irving's ahead of schedule for ACL. It
was good to hear.
So that's good to hear. Kyrie himself had said he'd be kind of back. Tim Bontemps reported Max Strus is he's there without a walking boot on, but is walking very slowly, no timetable. Has a 6-week checkup coming in. He had a Jones fracture in his foot, for those who don't remember, for the Cavs. So we'll get into more of the fallout coming down the line here, but with media day as we go. But yeah, definitely a lot of reporting going to come out. A lot of it at least today will be injury related. Then
Mhm.
we'll get over the next week. We'll start getting the lineup stuff, who's looking good in practices and scrimmages and all that stuff. And then we have preseason ball at the end of the week, which is fantastic.
Let's go. Basketball is back, baby. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show. Please make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.